UFC Vegas 16 had some crazy KOs and fights. I mean, between Jordan Levitt slam, and Marvin Vettori really making a statement. That was some crazy stuff that we just witnessed on Saturday. And then also going to what Dana White's been talking about. 60 members of the roster about to get cut. Already seen Yoel Romero and Rachel Ostovich gone. Who is going to be next out of those? Let's talk Anthony Rumble Johnson. His return to the Octagon is approaching. Then UFC 256, our last pay-per-view of the year, is right here and is about to go down. But ladies and gentlemen, this is Fourth and Long Radio. I am your host, Ross Allen, joined by UFC correspondent Blake Campbell. And Blake, you ready to get into some things?
Yes, sir. Let's get into it.
So, as I said, first off, UFC Vegas 16. Let's talk about the first fight on the main card. Jordan Levitt, with 22 seconds in the fight, picks up his opponent, carries him to his corner, and then slams him and knocks him out cold. Man, that was a great way to start the main card, if I do say so.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of knew just from watching. I didn't know anything about Jordan Levitt until we watched him fight. But man, watching the previews of the fighters, building up to it, and they had like a little interview with him. That guy looks insane. Like, no offense to the dude, I'm sure he's the nicest person in the world, but oh my goodness, I got this bone chilling like psycho vibe from him, which is cool. I mean, that's got to be great in the fight game.
Hey, it's no insult, but dude, that was a crazy, crazy move. Of course, I mean, Jordan, he was a Dana White Contender Series fighter. We just put an article of this up on the website. Dana White Contender Series guy about a couple months ago. Then he makes his UFC debut on Saturday, and he wins in that sort of fashion. That is one hell of a way to debut, if I say so myself. But the real main thing that we have to focus on from this card
Is the
was,
celebration that he did? You're not even going to mention that? Come
oh,
on,
I'm
bro.
sorry, the Dirty Dancing celebration.
That
Okay.
was kind of sus.
What? It was us.
Because he was the girl, dude. That was weird.
He was
They
a
did like
smaller
the full
guy.
splits. I thought he was going to start doing the WAP dance.
Hey, I was just more impressed that he could even do that little jump. That is,
No, hey, credit to dude though. I mean, that's a hell of a freaking debut for anyone. I mean, you go in there, you take. I don't think he took any damage.
no,
I don't think he got absorbed a strike at all. If I'm off the top of my head,
no.
and I mean, he definitely hurt the dude, but he didn't, demolish a guy. So I feel like everyone kind of won in that one. Dude got an easy paycheck, and the guy he beat up got a, you know, hurtful but easy paycheck as well. This was quick.
Some quick and easy brain damage, nothing too bad. But wasn't quick was our main event of the evening. We had Marvin Vettori stepping up, trying to make a statement against Jack Hermansson. Just real quick though, Hermansson. I said this on Twitter. You follow us at Fourth Long Radio. I gave him a lot of credit for going through three different opponents in the span of a week. That's a really tough thing mentally to do, and I just kind of want to applaud him for that. He could have easily turned down one of these fights, but dude's a champ.
Yeah, no, credit to him for even sticking with the originally scheduled bout. I mean, this is ridiculous that he has to go through three different opponents. I think it went who was it was Till first, right? It went from
Yep,
Till to
Till
Holland
to Hall.
and then to Vittori, the Italian Dream. So credit to him for sticking with it. I'm sure the UFC appreciates him a ton, and they're not going to forget that. I mean, you gotta keep in mind this is a two-way street. If you scratch their back, I'm sure they're going to help you out at some point in return. It's just the performances have to add up. Unfortunately, for this night, on this specific instance, the performance didn't match with the, I guess, sacrifice he kind of had to go through, and the weird route that kind of took him to this bout. Vittori, on the other hand, is kind of the wolf just waiting right at the bottom of the hill, waiting for the chance for the wolf at the top to slip, and he sees it, grabs that moment, and takes it. Now he enters into the top five after such an incredible performance. I mean, that fight was probably one of my favorite fights of the year. I'm not saying that it was a fight of the year, but it was definitely one of the more entertaining, back and forth, just barn burner fights of the year. I mean,
I
we had
understand
a
that.
knockback in the first round. We
Almost
had
finishing. It was
back and
probably like
forth.
5 punches away from finishing him.
Really? I mean, I was really surprised he kind of went for the choke there. I thought he was gonna just keep ground and pounding him
Hey,
and
he
get him
wanted
out
to
of there.
submit the submission specialist, I guess.
That would have been a hell of a statement. But either way, it was still a hell of a
Mhm.
statement.
But he
Credit
goes
to both
5 rounds,
guys.
man. Just beats him up. I mean, Hermansson had a good round in there, probably that second round for most people. And then his second and third was good. A lot of people we were hearing for the commentators too. They were expecting Marvin to kind of tire out around the
Right.
third round, and it looked like he actually was. But then he got a second win, the fourth and fifth, and just kept the pressure up. And I mean, Hermansson came away with 6 month medical suspension. He had some
Mhm.
broke his face, and Vettori, man, he had not much to lose, everything to gain, and he
Right.
might be one fight away from that rematch with Israel Adesanya. And remember, one of Izzy's first fights in the UFC in 2018, Marvin Vettori took him to a split decision. So I mean, of course, it's two different fighters at this point, but he was able to push him then. Who knows what we can see now?
Well, I think the thing is, Vittori, in my opinion, has only gotten better since then.
Mm-hmm.
He's consistently had these, decision wins. I think he just recently got one of his first, if not his first, finish in the UFC with his previous bout before this one,
Mm-hmm.
I believe by submission. So, we're looking for more steps up in terms of his performances, and I think this was the perfect showcase for him. I mean, he didn't get the finish. Finishes are probably always going to be more impressive because you're literally taking a guy out.
Yeah.
But I almost have to disagree with that because in this sense, everyone was counting him out. They said if it goes past 3 rounds, it's Hermansson's fight to lose, and so for him to go in there, almost get him out in the first round. Still beat him in the second round, in my opinion, and pretty much all the judges' opinions. Third round, he starts to fade a little bit, but you could tell. I mean, that's when we found out his heart. He goes back
Mm-hmm.
to the stool. He sits on the stool and he tells his coaches, I'll be back. I'm ready. I need to take that round off a little bit. He didn't specifically say that, but that's how I interpreted it.
Mm-hmm.
This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. I already won the first 2 rounds. This third round, let me survive. Let me get out there. Let me take as the least amount of damage as possible and conserve my energy so I can get ready for these last 2 sprints. And that's exactly what he did. He came out there in the fourth round and he freaking dominated. He did not let Hermansson push him back and use his range and, sit behind that jab. He was just incredible that night. I really can't pick on anything that he did, wrong.
See, and now the thing, of course, after the fight, he did call out Paulo Costa. And to me, Blake, I think that's the perfect fight to make right now. If you're Vettori or if you're Costa himself. Vettori, I mean, if you want to get your title fight, you want to get your title opportunity, who do you fight? You fight the guy that just had his chance at the champion. You beat him, that almost guarantees you your next fight being for the belt. I mean, let's not get into what the hell is even going on with the middleweight belt at this point. With Jan Blachowicz possibly, who really knows at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But what do you think about this call out? What is next for Marvin Vettori?
I love the call out in the moment, but I actually think he went back and took that back in his post fight interview backstage, not just the one or the press conference. I think he was high emotions backstage, said what he had to say, and then he collected his thoughts, went to the press conference, and I want to say he might have switched his opinion to maybe Whitaker or something like that.
Even Whitaker would be great.
Which is probably a better choice for him. I mean, honestly, Costa. Well, actually, they both got smoked.
Mm-hmm.
Costa and Whitaker both got smoked.
At least Whitaker had a bit of an excuse for being out for so long, but
right. Costa, he was talking all that crap and then goes out there and gets destroyed. So that's definitely not a good look. You're right. But I mean, in terms of the call out, I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was whenever someone goes up there and they don't call someone out, I get pissed because that's your moment. That's how you build up a fight. That's how you cut a promo.
You gotta do something, man.
You're in the fighting business. You're not here to make friends. I'm sorry. When you're at the top, dude, you gotta make yourself interesting. Sean O'Malley, gotta go back to my boy, knows how to make it interesting. He
Someone
gets
I'll
people
be back
pissed
in
off.
a few months too.
Yes, sir. He gets people pissed off. He gets people drawn to the card, to his fight.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see him either lose or they want to see him win. And kind of getting off topic here, but But Vettori, I mean, that's what you got to do as a fighter. When the chance is there, you call out the guys that are above you, if possible, that are going to get you the best paydays and the best looks at the next fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Costa is great. He's probably what, number 2? I want to say number 2.
He's
I
still
don't have the.
yeah.
Yep, he's number 2.
Still
So
number
Whitaker's
2.
1. So I mean,
Cannonier out with injury. Darren Tills said that he might be going to welterweight.
yeah, if I were Vettori, I'd be campaigning for a Whitaker or Costa bout. But the only hiccup is they might be fighting each other.
Yeah.
And in that case, he's kind of screwed because what you just said
for the winner.
You just said Darren Till might be going to welterweight.
Yeah.
Wow, that sucks. So number 4 is out. Jared Cannonier injured right now. Yeah. I think he's out for at least a couple more months.
So he needs one of these fights. Whitaker might be taking some time off.
So you'd have to go all the way down to number 7, Derek Brunson.
Hey,
to be the next.
And then it's not worth it at that point. But then on the other hand, with Hermansson, what's next for Hermansson is what I really like. So this fighter, Uriah Hall, is having his rematch with Chris Weidman at UFC 258. Uriah Hall, of course, just came out that TKO victory over Anderson Silva in his last fight. And that is who Hermansson should be fighting next. So he already has a 6-month suspension anyway, so he's going to be out until about June of next year. UFC 258 is going to be in February. The timing sets up nicely, especially assuming Uriah Hall handles business against Chris Weidman, which he should. I really like this as a fight.
You love Uriah Hall. I don't get it.
Dude, I like Uriah Hall. Well, it's also Chris Weidman, dude. He should be able to beat Chris Weidman.
You'd be surprised, man. Weidman was a champion for a reason.
Good point. Like years ago, though. What do you think, though?
There's a reason Uriah Hall has never been a champion, you know?
So, he has been
not trying to talk crap, but, I mean, Weidman, I actually like Weidman in that fight more than I like Hall. Yeah, because, I mean, Weidman is a specialist at what when he chooses to use his wrestling combined with his striking on the ground and just overall decent boxing with using his range like he did in his last fight a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good guy. The only thing that I really get scared about is if he takes that huge punch. That's the only thing that really gets me worried with Chris. And I don't with Hall, I'm not really too sure he's going to be able to get that chance to tee off on Weidman, because I think Weidman's going to have a good game plan and probably be, more pressure based and pin him against the fence and take him to the ground, I would hope. But I don't know. Uriah Hall versus Hermansson, I'm kind of cool off that.
That's fair. Who do you think then? Who's next for Hermansson?
I would think more of like a Derek.
Brunson?
I like a Brunson fight with
Brunson.
Hermansson. I think that'd be nice, because in Brunson, he's trying to get back up there too. He's another guy that's fought Adesanya and wants a second chance at him. That would almost be. Has Vettori fought Brunson yet?
I don't know.
That would almost be a decent fight in the meantime, just because they both have fought Adesanya. They have the common opponent they both lost to, even though it was really close with Vettori. That I take it back. That kind of would almost be a decent fight, but
yeah, it's not really
worth
it. Hey, that could be on the page, but we'll see where we go from there. All I know is UFC 2 Vegas 16, was a all-around solid card, especially for just being on free TV on ESPN 2. Great stuff there. But of course, what we said, Yoel Romero cut last week. 60 cuts upcoming per Dana White. Blachowicz was the one to become most recently. And then the thing with Yoel Romero, though, obviously he didn't have the best record, losing a few fights in a row, championship fights, but losing fights nonetheless. Was he deserving of this cut?
I think so. I just think they're at the end of the road with him. I'm not saying he doesn't have good fights left. Mm-hmm. I just think it's mutually beneficial at this point. I mean, if he does only have a few good fights left, let him go somewhere else, fight for a belt somewhere else, and probably get more money somewhere else. Because in the UFC, his fights, anytime you put him up in a really, crazy fight, he kind of gets gun shy. Mm-hmm. Besides the Whitaker fight. Mm-hmm. So I mean, I was kind of okay with the cut, to be honest. I'm almost intrigued to see where he goes next. Like if it's Bellator, He can fight Musasi. He can fight Lima. There's a few good matchups.
Well, see,
out
the
there
problem
for
there,
him.
Blake, is that apparently Bellator, according to MMA Fighting and a couple other places, MMA Junkie, Bellator and PFL are reportedly out on the Yoel Romero deal. But that doesn't matter because that's not where I want to see him go anyway. I want to see
You want to
this.
see him go to one?
No, not even Blake. I want to see.
Bare knuckle.
Yes.
Yes.
Give me Yoel
Oh!
Romero and bare knuckle.
That
fighting.
would be so
me
scary if he actually freaking
Give me
punched.
this freak specimen that could take a spinning kick, a shin right to the head, and not even have his neck move. Give me that in bare knuckle fighting, okay? Because he will run through everyone in a heartbeat, and I am a sick man for wishing this, but I want to see that.
Man, yeah. I wonder if it's just, are they not interested? Or is he asking for too much money? Like, do they think he's asking for too much?
Man, all I've seen so far is that that some reporters have just been told, or Ariel Helwani has just been told by Bellator, and then PFL is not interested as well. I mean, there's Risen One, KSW, and then there's no kind of reason why, but they're reportedly out on the deal.
Man, that's
It
so
doesn't matter because
strange.
give me bare knuckle Blake, and then we'll be happy, right?
That's just so weird that he has no options. I would think that someone would be willing to take a chance on him.
Bare knuckle.
We'll see, though. I mean, it's not like he's not going to get a chance. If he
No.
still wants to fight, he'll be able to find somewhere to fight.
Rachel Osovich, on the other hand, might be having a tougher time trying to find where to go. Maybe she's better for Bellator.
Maybe go back.
Send her to
Has she
Invicta.
has she even been to Invicta yet? I don't know. Yeah,
Ugh.
she's. I don't think she's belongs on the big stage.
I
Well,
mean,
at least
three
not the
straight losses.
UFC big stage.
3 straight losses is tough. It's not necessarily she's a bad fighter, but she just needs to go regroup somewhere else.
She's not a good fighter. I'll tell you that.
And then the thing is, though,
You get beat by Paige Van Zandt, you're not very good.
mm,
That's on the poster for why she got cut.
the problem is though that with this, we have 60 people. That's quite the roster. Do you expect like another big name like Yoel Romero to be cut with this?
Another big name of Yoel Romero. I mean, that's a top 5 in a
Mhm.
division. It would have to be a guy that's old. It would have to be a guy that's kind of like
Tyron Woodley, he's getting cut.
Woodley could be there. I mean, a guy like
Chris Weidman might. Well, no, this is all gonna happen this month, so Weidman still has some time.
I feel like cut's almost a little disrespectful though. So it's
Yeah.
got to be someone
They're going
that
to be-
Dana White's okay with severing ties with.
They're-
So it's not like it's going to be Donald Cerrone or something like
I
that.
really
You know,
hope Walt Harris doesn't get cut.
I don't think he would because that's a weak division.
Yeah. Ooh.
You know, heavyweight's very top heavy.
Mm-hmm.
So they need guys that are kind of fillers in there for like the
Woodley's a guy that
15 to
really
7
sticks out
range.
to me. He has nothing left to do in the UFC. He's nothing doing.
I don't know. I mean,
Is he really a needle mover too?
I think he could be one fight away from being cut because I think you could give him one more fight and say, hey, here's this guy that's not in the top 5. Let's see what you got. Let's see if you're still gun shy. And if he is, then boom, I think you get rid of him.
I still want to see Tyron Woodley against Neil Magny.
Did he say when the cuts were all
December.
going to be?
It's gonna happen soon.
It's going to be by the end of December.
Yeah.
He said.
He said by the end of the year.
Because I was going to say, I wonder if it's going to be like a trickle where it's going to come in every now and then, like just based off recent performances or
The way Dan White's been talking in his pressers, it's going to be this month. So,
I think it's fine though. I mean, you got to do what you got to do to save money here and there. As a business, I'm sure they've probably taken a loss this year.
and there's probably going to be people that deserve to get mutually have their ways parted, to say that in a nice way.
It's just kind of like it's kind of like a cleaning up.
Yeah,
Spring
it's
cleaning
new
before the
year,
spring.
New me, man. New year, new me. New year, new UFC. But speaking of someone that isn't new though, Blake, Anthony Rumble Johnson. He's going to be making his return to the UFC Octagon 2021. He's been getting ready for this. There's been people talking about this, and he's returning to the light heavyweight division. And so Can we expect him to see a top 15 opponent in his first fight back to the promotion, or is he going to have to start a little bit lower than that?
A top 15, absolutely. That's not even a question.
Does he have a chance against a top 15er?
Absolutely. Are you kidding me?
Who do you think then? Who do you think? Talk me through this. Who do you think he should fight?
Anyone, man.
Anyone.
I would like to see him fight anyone on that top 15.
Can we see him
seriously? I don't know if I've seen him fight. Has he fought anyone on this top 15?
Hey, Blake.
Maybe Teixeira?
I would like to see him against Ryan Spann.
Really, that's came out of left field. Wow.
I know,
I was the guy that just beat up OSP. I think that would be a fun one.
Oh, he just made his crack into the top 15 with Jamal Hill. That was a great scrap.
Talk about, we didn't even mention that. I mean, that was a fight that really caught me off guard. I was totally counting him off, totally counting that guy out, because I just thought OSP was the guy. I think his record was 6-0. I was like, man, that's 6-0. That's just
he came in as a favorite. OSP did miss weight for the first time in his 22 fight career with the UFC. And so it looked like a bad weight cut too. So I was kind of worried about OSP at the same time.
Yeah, I wasn't really up to date on that card, so I mean, I wasn't really following anything going into it. So I probably would have known a little more going into that if I seen that. But man, just either way, Jamal Hill, the way that he took him out was just really impressive. That would be a fun one. I want to see him go against a striker though. So I want to see him go against a Jamal Hill, a Jim Crute. Talk about a fun guy to watch, Jim Crute. He could fight anyone right now. Johnny Walker would be fun to watch.
Ooh.
I think Johnson would spark Walker.
I think Johnson probably would.
Man, you know who I can't wait to see fight? What if we got Anthony Smith in there against Prochaka? Oh my God, that would be crazy.
Give me Anthony Smith against Anthony Johnson, man.
No. I love Anthony Smith. Give me Prochaka.
Dude, that's not a good matchup. I mean,
Yuri Prochaka versus Rumble Johnson, bro.
Whew.
That would be psychopath.
I'm so excited about two big fighters hopefully coming back in 2021. One being
Thiago Santos. That would be kind of cool too.
Yeah, I don't know if that's a little too out of his league, though. It's a problem. But, I mean, dude.
Who, for Johnson?
Yeah, I mean, first fight back.
Dude, but, I mean, the skills never leave. I think he's always going to be that same fighter. You know, he's got that dog in him. The only person that could beat him really was Cormier, I want to say.
Yeah.
And that's because Cormier he just had no answer for the wrestle.
Yeah. I mean, the only two losses when he was with the UFC was Cormier. And so...
That was the one puzzle he couldn't solve, and man, we never got to see that Jones fight.
Sorry,
that would have been interesting.
He lost a number more. I mean, with Clemente Burns, Kevin Burns, and Josh Koscheck, Vitor Belfort. That doesn't count though, because.
But that was at a different. That was in a different division, though. I think
different era, different division. But his in light heavyweight is really only Daniel Cormier that has number. So. I'm looking forward to him coming back. Can't wait for Nick Diaz to come back as well.
Is he really coming back?
His manager said there is a 99.99% chance he's fighting in 2021.
Okay, cool.
So it gives me a little bit of hope, a little bit. But let's get on to the UFC 256, Blake, because this is one hell of a card to cap the year's worth of pay-per-views. Yeah. And we're going to get things started. The first fight of the night is going to be Chase Hooper.
Surprising.
Right? I'm surprised he kind of dropped that low, but...
they put him on the freaking early prelims. First fight.
Kind of messed up, but, I mean, he loses one fight back in June against Alex Caceres. Yeah. But now he's fighting Peter Barrett. And the really key thing to go watch with this fight is, has his stand-up improved? And if he's been spending all this time with Ben Askren on Ben Askren's forum, which has been very funny so far. I've loved every single one of their interactions. Probably one of the best things outside the octagon that the UFC does right now. But, I mean, I don't know if Ben Askren's the guy to hang out with if you're looking for striking.
Yeah, I mean, he's not going to have a direct influence on his striking, I don't think. But I definitely believe that Ben Askren would have the connections to get him in contact with the right people 100%. That would have a good influence on his striking.
Hell of a guy to have as your dad with Ben Askren, man. That's perfect.
Yeah. So, I mean, and he's probably learning some stuff from Ben Askren with, wrestling and
Mm-hmm.
more offensive wrestling and takedowns, so he can use his jiu-jitsu in a more offensive manner from the get-go, rather than it just being kind of a last resort pull guard on someone that is on top of me or something like that, or is going to take me down.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's good for him. This Peter Barrett guy, you can tell this is kind of like a where are you at type of fight. I believe, no offense to the guy, but UFC's putting him on the early prelims, giving him a guy that he, let's be honest, he should beat, with the pedigree that everyone has come to believe that he possesses.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I'm very, very intrigued in seeing, does he have a couple more tricks up his sleeve? Does he have, a sharper jab? Does he have something that he's added to his game that's going to make it stand out and be, less one dimensional? Because that's really, against Caceres, man, he was, he has heart. You can give him that. He has heart. That's one thing you cannot teach. That kid is a fighter. So that's why I'm believing in him. And I think that he definitely is going to show us some things this weekend.
And now the next one I want to talk about, we have to go over a few because we've had about 5 of them get canceled because of COVID. But the next one I want to talk about is going to be a fight between a couple of the women's top 15 fighters in the strawweight division, between 11 Mackenzie Dern and number 13 Verna Jandarova. Of course, Verna did make her UFC debut back in 2019. Back in 2019. Early year, lost to Carla Esparza later that year.
2019.
She won against Madeline Martin. Most recently, we had in August, she had her win against Felice Herrig when she won by a pretty nasty armbar early in the first round. And then Mackenzie Dern herself, she's on the 2-fight win streak right now. 2 fights in 2020, 2 wins in 2020. Fought Hannah Seifers, and then Randa Marcos, winning one by knee bar, one by arm bar. So I am heavily expecting a very nice jiu-jitsu bout in my UFC pay-per-view.
That's the fight I was thinking of before we started recording, was the Carla Esparza fight.
Yeah.
That's the one I couldn't, because I was like, there's no way that was her first fight in the UFC. Yeah, she looks scary. She
just looks like a freak. I mean, in all the right
ways, literally
man.
Two opposite ends of the spectrum, like Mackenzie Dern. Very nice.
Yeah.
Jandarova. Sorry.
But what are we expecting out of this fight, though? Are we expecting some
I think it's a really,
or is it all going to be on the ground?
I think it's a really bad matchup for Dern. I think Jandarova, she's shown me a little bit of something on the feet in her fights that I remember seeing. Like against Herrig, she was solid. I don't like Dern. I don't think Dern's a very good fighter. I just really don't think she's that special. When she gets you on the ground, if you're subpar on the ground, yeah, she'll tap you out. But I mean, she's not tough. She's not got anything special in stand up. I mean, she just seems so one dimensional.
That's fair. I'm hoping for at least a decent showing. There's definitely a top 10 spot on the line with this fight, and so it's going to be really important to see how that goes. If we actually get stand-up, I will be kind of shocked about this. But the next fight on the prelims is going to be the return of Cub Swanson. He's back against Daniel Pineda. Cub Swanson last fought against Kron Gracie in October of last year. Pineda himself last fought and KO'd Herbert Burns earlier this year, when Burns was on that fast track just because his brother Gilbert doing some great stuff. And I mean, he still has his fight at UFC 258 against. It's been pushed off for so long now, it feels like. But he's finally gained his opportunity against Kamaru Usman at UFC 258. And so what are you hoping from this fight? I'm expecting just kind of a slugfest with this one, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping for a really entertaining, fast-paced fight between these two. Cub Swanson's a guy that's not scared to throw down. Daniel Pineda, as we've seen in his short time in the UFC so far, he is not afraid to throw down either. So,
nope.
Yeah, I mean, well, actually, I think Pineda's been in the UFC before, but that's besides the point. I'm expecting fireworks for this. I really am. I think Cub Swanson. I don't think I could ever remember a fight that's really been boring with that guy, and
No.
he's towards the twilight of his career, so he's definitely looking for the paychecks and the bonuses, I would think. So look out for this to be possibly fight of the night. Maybe we'll see.
Mm-hmm. The next fight, moving on into the main card itself, we have a nice heavyweight matchup, changing up the pace a little bit. We have number 7 ranked Junior Dos Santos against number 14 ranked Cyril Game. And JDS, man, he needs a win in the worst way possible. He's on 3-fight losing streak right now. To be fair, the 3 fights he's lost have been against absolute killers in Ngannou, Blades, and Rosenstruik. So obviously his opponents have been fantastic. And then Cyril, he's 6-0. He last fought December 2019 against Tanner Boser, who has had a solid 2020 as well. And this is, I think it could be a great fight because, if we're talking about those cuts that might be happening this year earlier in the show, Dos Santos, he probably isn't. But you never know. 4 losses in a row with cuts like this going on. Doesn't hurt to be careful, right?
Yeah, I think that's a hard one for me to see going down though. I just think Junior Dos Santos has fought the best almost all the time, and he's still got an impressive record. The guys that he's taken out recently are super impressive as well. Finishing Derek Lewis, among Tai Tuivasa, some other impressive performances he's had pretty recently. Mm-hmm. It's just the last 3 fights, man. That's just the luck of the draw sometimes.
That's a heavyweight. That's the top of the heavyweight division right there.
Yeah. So it just kind of sucks it. And this is a fight to possibly get him back on track. Mm-hmm. So we'll see. Gane is a guy that could not get a fight. So this is definitely a dude that you would not expect to drop out.
So 4 fights in a row canceled until he gets this one.
So
feel bad.
Crossing our fingers for this guy.
No COVID
charm.
No COVID. Yeah, 5th time's the charm, right? But man, this co-main event now, Blake. We get the return of El Kukoi. We get number 3 ranked Tony Ferguson against a really good fighter in number 7 ranked Charles Oliveira. Of course, Oliveira is riding a 7-fight win streak. Doesn't compare to the 12-fight win streak that Ferguson used to have. But nonetheless, still fantastic. His last win was over Kevin Lee back in March of this year. Ferguson, of course, a number of months ago had his worst outing ever, where it wasn't necessarily him being bad. Of course, he cut weight twice in 2 weeks, which probably isn't very healthy. Right. But Justin Gaethje just went in, had a almost perfect fight. And now this is the opportunity for Tony Ferguson to prove to the world he was still an interim champion at one point, and he's still a force to be reckoned with in this lightweight division. And it's time for him to make people remember how good he is, but it's not going to be easy against Oliveira.
No, not at all. This is a matchup that I'm surprised hasn't happened yet. I had already thought that these guys had fought. I thought there was no chance they hadn't fought yet with as active as they are. And how much they compete so often, but it's going to be an interesting matchup. I don't know who I'm leaning towards because Oliveira is riding, a lot of momentum right now, just finishing, it seems like everybody in his path. Whereas Ferguson, it was the same thing for him until his most recent fight, which now we're going to see how does Ferguson, bounce back from the most brutal loss of his career by far. It's going to be really, really fun to watch is all I know because both of these guys bring it every time that they go out there.
They're going for the knockout. There's nothing else.
They're going for the finish for sure. Not just a knockout because these guys can finish you anywhere, anyway.
Mm-hmm. So, dude, I am so excited for this. Unfortunately, might be a little more excited than the main event, but that's not knocking the main event.
But the storyline is pretty cool, though. Two title defenses within 3 weeks,
and then he's going for his 4th title fight. Going for his 4th title fight win this year.
2 against Benavidez, 1 against Perez.
Yeah,
was it Alex Perez, right?
Yeah,
and then Brandon Moreno. Mm-hmm. Possibly, we'll see Brandon Moreno this weekend.
Dude, Figueiredo, if he wins this fight, even if he doesn't, he still has a really good chance of winning it. But if he wins this fight, he will only be cementing himself as hands down 2020's fighter of the year.
Yes.
But it won't be easy because Brandon Moreno, man, he's a killer in his own right. Both of them had phenomenal performances back at UFC 255. Both getting some really big time victories.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, it was the prelims where Brandon Moreno won. He won over Brandon Royval, in the
Royval.
first round. Thank you. He TKO in the first round. And
that
then
body work he was doing was vicious, man.
Really good all around fight.
Was that the double uppercut that we watched, or was that a different fight I'm thinking of?
It might have been.
I remember someone clipped someone on the chin with an uppercut and then hit him right in the liver and ended the fight. I can't remember if that was the fight ending sequence for that one or if I'm thinking of a different fight.
Could have been though, but I mean Figueiredo, then he in the main event, submission not even 2 minutes into the first round against Alex Perez, a very formidable fighter, and then an hour after that fight's over, and maybe not even, they agree to fight Brandon Moreno. They agree to fight at UFC 256, and that's kind of badass. I really have to give him a lot of props for that. How often do we see something like that?
McGregor status, Hamzat status.
Right.
That's really the only times you get it. So he's stepping in there and joining that elite category of fighters that just save the day. So I mean, when you do that, you make Uncle Dana happy.
Hey, that's why he got his $50K from Dana. I mean, he didn't officially get a performance bonus, but then he goes and gets a bag full of money, and it's kind of fun. I mean, first off, I kind of didn't like Division, especially after reading for a guy like Joseph Benavidez, a guy that probably really deserved the belt. But now he's supposed to be playing the bad guy, but I'm kind of a fan of him.
Yeah, it's interesting, man. He's a really entertaining fighter himself, so it's hard to dislike a guy that brings it like he does and has that tenacity and that freaking just, I don't know, man, that just like anger inside him almost, you could tell, like he just wants to hurt people. And that's something that, you the viewer, the watcher, you can see that. I really think that you can feel a guy's energy just by watching how they fight and how they act, leading up to the fight. And Figueiredo so far, he's been magnificent. So it's going to be interesting, man. I can't wait to see this card this weekend. It's sneaky good.
It's really good. I mean,
with all the stuff that's happened,
great. But I mean, with this main event, though, Blake, I really have to ask you: who is a short turnaround going to benefit the most?
I think they're about even right now because both their fights were really, really quick, and Figueiredo has yet to put on a lot of tape with his title fights.
Yeah.
I mean, Benavidez, he's finished him in, I think the first fight was 2 rounds, right? And the second fight was the first round. So, I mean, all of his fights are going pretty freaking fast. So Moreno's, he doesn't have much to work with there. And same thing with Figueiredo. I mean, Moreno's getting guys out really quickly too. So I think it's just going to be who doesn't let their peak dwindle, because these guys were already probably, hopefully in peak performance condition. So it's going to be who can kind of maintain and stay at that level and be the most effective come fight night. So that's going to be a big question. Man, I wonder if the gas tank's going to come into play if they don't get out, early. Does Davison does he have the 5-round gas tank? Does Moreno?
I don't know if this fight makes it out of the first 3 rounds. If you're putting a 2.5 over under on this and you had to bet, I'm taking the under on the 2.5 personally. I think it's going to be 2 dudes that are just going to...
I hope it's a finish. I hope it is. I hope it's a finish in the first 3.
It has to be, right? I mean, why is these 2 dudes are just...
It's best for the flyweight division, though, if Figueiredo retains and finishes this guy. And then we get the Cody Garbrandt fight.
Oh, yeah. I mean, but especially in the flyweight division, you want to build stars. Figueiredo's well on that pathway, especially the 21 fighter. They're trying to build... You will never be able to repeat him, but they're trying to get something of a Demetrius Johnson. That guy's going to have, like, that's going to have 100 title defenses in a row. Something like that. A guy that's going to be able to throw someone up and in midair switch to an armbar. Something like that. But except having, while Deiveson, very technical, very solid all-around fighter. I don't know, from Demetrius, we saw someone like Deiveson that is going to turn a guy like Joseph Benavidez into a bloody pulp and choke him unconscious, swimming in a pool of blood. That's what it was. If you saw the picture, his eyes rolled to the back of his head. It was one of the...
Yeah, no, that was a gnarly fight to watch. That finishing sequence was gnarly.
But, hey, man, I'm so excited for this fight.
He still got Megan, though, so he's good. That's why. Exactly. He's got the unofficial belt.
Hey, that's a huge win in my book. But, going off this, man, the next few weeks are going to be great. I can't wait to talk a little more about this, hopefully next week. Because, that fight night, Thompson and Neal, there's no Hamza anymore. But we still get Wonderboy Thompson, Jeff Neal. That's a phenomenal scrap. Jose Aldo, Cheeto Vera.
So it's confirmed, right? Hamza versus Jeff Neal?
No, Stephen Thompson and Jeff Neal. That whole fight just got scrapped and got pushed back until next year.
Hamza was supposed to be fighting Leon Hall.
Yeah, it all got pushed. But, Marlon Moraes, Rob Font, Marcin Tibura, Greg Hardy, and then... dude,
I want to see Hamza fight, man. What the hell?
I know, right?
On the card, bro.
Stupid COVID. But even what's it called? The prelims of this card, we get Twitter champion Bilal Muhammad against Diego Lima, which is going to be a great scrap.
This is next weekend you're talking about, right?
Next weekend.
Yeah.
I'm ready. Wait,
who's he fighting again?
He's fighting Diego Lima.
Oh.
And
nice.
Also, another late division or addition to this is supposed to be a guy that we just had on as a part of our last few streams of UFC interviews. Alex Morono, he will be taking on Anthony Showtime Pettis. Anthony Pettis is a guy that might be on the cusp of getting cut too, especially how this fight goes.
He could be, yeah. That is a guy that I would say, if he didn't have a fight scheduled right now, that I would say he's on the watch list.
Anthony Pettis could be getting cut by Alex Morono. We've had a great list of interviews recently. We've had guys like Guitar Hero Justin James. Go back a while. We had Josh Emmett on. More recent, we had Sasha Palatnikov, who won Fight of the Night in his debut. Ended up getting Fight of the Month. In all actuality, Alex Morono. Then we're going to have going.
That was kind of cool seeing them interact on Twitter too. With when you put out your tweet, right? And Sasha replied to Alex Morono's somewhat of a call out.
It was cool, man. It was cool. First time happening for that. So I got me. It was kind of sick. Okay.
Yeah, it was sweet.
But then also stuff coming up. We're going to have Corey McKenna on Team Alpha Male. She was Dana White Contender Series. She just won in her debut about a month ago. Then also going to have Smiling Sam Alvey on here real soon too. So I cannot wait to
get... guy.
Dude.
He better not get cut. That guy deserves a spot.
I really hope he doesn't get cut. I didn't want to talk about it because he's... I really hope it doesn't happen. But, hey, we'll see. But with all this, guys, some to wrap things up, just some last-minute plugs, of course, besides all the fantastic interviews, which you can do now if I know you all love the show so very much and really do appreciate your support. So that's why you can head on over to our Patreon page and get yourself going with that. Because we have a multitude of subscription levels, of tiers. We have stuff that's just, $1 is going to get you a good amount of stuff like that. We've had $5 and we have all the way up to $10 as well. And it's something, I gotta say, man, it's some decent stuff here, Blake, okay? Because, just the dollar tier alone, that sucker right there, gets you stuff like fan requests, exclusive voting power. You get your shout outs done. You go up to $5, you get requests, voting power, shout outs. Then you also get access to live chat, and then also 10% off all merchandise. And of course, the MVP tier, which is number 10, we go from All-Star, All-Pro, MVP. You get early access to all interviews. You get this special, never before seen behind-the-scenes content of these interviews as well. They go along with everything else. You can go www.patreon.com/4thandlong. Get yourself started
Oh
on that
my
today.
God, Ross.
What?
Just sell your soul, brother.
You act like you haven't already.
Oh my God. Can't you just put that all in the freaking like comment section
I
or something
can't,
like
but we're at the
that?
end of the show, Blake. It's different. I'm not
Oh,
plugging this.
no one's even gonna, as soon as they start hearing you talk about that stuff, I promise you, end.
Doesn't matter because we already said everything that we really needed to. So go ahead.
If they're in for a treat if they stayed that long, they're gonna hear me call you out. So you're welcome.
Hey, Blake, that's what you hear. And not only do I have you on the show as our UFC correspondent, but also official Ross Allen ego checker.
You already know, bro. That's what I'm here for.
That's why you're the homie. That's why you're the homie. Of course, what you guys can also be on the lookout too is here in maybe a couple weeks. Not gonna have to do a little video chat as well for the show. We're actually gonna be doing stuff in person, trying to get some fun stuff cranked out because in those couple weeks, Blake, that's when we're gonna be giving out our end of the year awards. And so we all know last year's was a blast, and this year's is going to be just as good. But ladies and gentlemen, check us out everywhere at www.the4thandlong.com. Check us out on Twitter at 4thlongradio, Instagram at 4thandlongradio, now Patreon too, patreon.com/4thandlong. And we will catch you guys in the next one.